Welcome back. After a spell of heavy rains, Mumbai was left crippled once again. Several parts of the city were waterlogged. However, the water has begun to recede in certain areas, but the Met Department has issued a red alert for Mumbai and surrounding districts of Thane, Palghar and Raigad for the next 24 hours. Train services across the city were affected after the heavy downpour. Trains on the western lines are now slowly inching to normalcy. Joining me live at this point, my colleagues Apeksha Srivastav and Amita Balachandra. Let me just cut across to Apeksha first. Apeksha, you've been out for most of the day. You're in Juhu right now, from what I understand. The western suburbs were badly affected, other than the fact that the trains were not moving. Tell us what the situation is at this point.
Well, Faye, as far as the western suburbs is concerned, the situation is not as bad as it was during the day. Now, while the water has started receding since it stopped raining as well, but there are several areas which continue to remain waterlogged, like the one we are in Juhu right now. Now, this is the main road at JVPD 9 Juhu scheme, and this is how the water continues. The streets continue to remain waterlogged. Now, Mumbaikars have had a tough day today in terms of travel, with the rail and roads services completely coming to a halt. And even right now, even although it stopped raining for the last 2 hours, but this is one area among the western suburbs where there is waterlogging. In fact, the whole of Juhu, there is still waterlogging. In fact, Faye, I'd like to bring in a few voices of the people who actually stay over here. Ma'am, जब ऐसा होता है, बारिश थोड़े टाइम की बारिश होती है और पूरा सिटी भर जाता है, किस तरीके की प्रॉब्लम्स होती है आपको?
यहाँ पर पूरा वाटर लॉगिंग हो जाता है जैसे ही बारिश शुरू होती है आधे घंटे में, और जो पैदल चलने वाले होते हैं उनको लाइक घुटने तक पानी आ जाता है, साइकिल रिक्शा नहीं जा सकती है.
So what kind of problems do you face?
What time?
What kind of problems do you face?
We are unable to walk, we are unable to take out our vehicles. We have to stay at home and enjoy at home differently. And many problems, the school going children, their buses are getting stuck. So they neither they can get down, neither they can go back to home.
In fact, ma'am, there was a very interesting point that you were making about how the infrastructure is not enough for the city of Mumbai, the existing infrastructure. Tell us more.
So infrastructure basically everywhere आप देख रहे हो, सब जगह पर पानी भरा हुआ है. Even inside all the lanes of Juhu scheme, they are all पूरा पानी भर के जाम है. अभी बारिश को बंद हुए 3 से 4 घंटा हुआ. नॉर्मली ऐसा होता नहीं है कि पानी जमा रहता है. But somewhere I feel कि थोड़ा civic sense भी नहीं है. Every time we end up blaming BMC and government. I just been to the Silver Beach recently. वहाँ से ही थ्रू आउट द डे वी वर एट होम्स. तो हम वहाँ से जाके आए तो सिल्वर बीच पूरा गार्लैंड से भरा हुआ है, एंड ऑल द गणपति आइडल्स आर जस्ट यहाँ वहाँ गिरे हुए. तो इसमें हम भी जिम्मेदार हैं कि इतना हमें भी समझना है कि हम खुद ये सब जमा करते हैं, वहाँ पर जाके डाल देते हैं इतना विसर्जन में. तो ये गार्लैंड से पूरा भरा हुआ है सब प्लास्टिक के साथ में एवरी. तो कहीं ना कहीं हमारी भी जिम्मेदारी है. Government is there to blame, but somewhere deep down, even each and every citizen, they should have some civic sense. Then only we can come up with this entire thing. You can see अभी तक ये गाड़ी भी आधी पानी में, अभी 4 घंटा हो गया, वो वैसे का वैसा पानी है.
So it's been a tough day for Mumbaikars today, and this is not something new. It happens every year. Slight rains and the city starts flooding. What do you have to say about that?
See, that is what you are saying is definitely that there is a problem with the infrastructure and waterlogging and the drainage system. Everything is there, and which I am sure that government needs to work on this. But as she very rightly said, it is not only about the government. The Mumbaikar also needs to be educated by themselves and not throw the garbage on the road, and to keep them city clean. Because if we have to equally be participate in the same thing. Otherwise, it is not only the government's responsibility. Definitely, government needs to do a lot of things, because comparatively, we being a capital of the India, and if this is the condition of the capital of India, it is really very pathetic and very bad. But definitely, government needs to improve a lot, and simultaneously, the Mumbaikar needs to improve themselves also very much. Otherwise, it is not possible. Yeah.
So, Faye, somewhere people do believe that it is equally the responsibility of people as well when it comes to, having some basic civic sense. But of course, that does not discount the fact that year on year we see Mumbai flooding even in slightest of rainfall.
Right, Apeksha, I do hope that you can head home now and, become dry and warm, and I hope you don't catch a cold, because Apeksha and most of my colleagues have been out standing in the water this entire day, and I'm a little worried about their health as well. Amita joins us right now from Lower Parel. Amita, Lower Parel has always been a problem. The Elphinstone Junction, the Hindmata Junction are areas where waterlogging has been the case for several years. Was it particularly bad today, or was this what we would normally expect?
Well, the waterlogging is something that we would normally expect for, Hindmata, Parel and Sion and King's Circle. But the aftermath, when the showers in fact came down and they had to clear the roads, and traffic was a huge problem. And if you can just see, we are at the monorail station. Frequency of monorail is pretty bad in itself, but today especially has been quite bad. We've been talking to a lot of passengers, a lot of citizens who are telling us that they were stranded. Many people who had to go to Vasai, Virar, Bhandup have had to wait for like 2 to 3 hours without any means to go back home. And now that the trains have slowly started, it's not yet completely fixed though. Frequency is still bad. I'm going to get in some voices of people who are now wanting to go back home. So if I can come to you, the fact that today has been especially tough is for people who travel back and forth. Tell us this, how long have you been waiting for here, and how difficult it's been for you to go back home?
It's almost 45 minutes I've been standing in the queue, and there seems to be they are leaving only 20 people from both the sides. And I think there are more than 300, 400 people standing on the queue, so I think my number will come after 2-3 hours more. After that, 1 hour commute, and after that, 1 more hour to reach home. So I think my midnight's gonna be outside.
That's what he's saying, that he's perhaps going to have to wait for another 2 hours. So I can get in some more voices. आप बताइए हमें, आप कब से यहाँ पे वेट कर रहे हैं और कहाँ जाना था?
घोड़ाला जाना चाहता है। हम 1.5 घंटा हो गया खड़ा है और अभी तक भी हम लोग लाइन पे खड़ा है।
आप भी 1 घंटा हो गया यहाँ पे खड़े?
हाँ, 1 घंटा सवा घंटा हो गया, 7-10 खड़े।
क्या आपको लगता है कि बीएमसी का बेटर प्लानिंग होना चाहिए था, खासकर कि आज के दिन ये जून में भी हो चुका है एक बार, और सिर्फ 4 दिन में इतने बारिश में हम इतने वाटर लॉगिंग देख चुके हैं, और अलर्ट जो दिया गया वो थोड़ा टाइम बाद आज सुबह दिया गया?
कर सकते थे, पर अब कैसे नहीं किया तो मतलब क्या कुछ कह सकते नहीं इस बारे में।
All right. So that is the word that's coming in from citizens, of course, who are, very worried, wanting to go back home now. Most of them returning back from offices, considering the alert, even for schools, Faye, came in only at 10 o'clock. Once students had already gone to schools, and hence a lot of children were also stuck, we understand, in the evening in low-lying areas, and now people just want to go back home.
So if you could just ask your camera person to just turn around and show us this line that you're standing next to. This is the line going out of the train station to get a taxi, is that correct? Or is it the line going into the train station? Just give us some perspective on why these people are standing in line.
Well, this is the monorail station. If I can just show you, this is the line that's going into the station. And if I can also ask my video journalist to pan around and show you, that's the line that's outside at this point in time. It's running up to almost half the road. If we can just walk a little bit more and show you, and onto the other side of the monorail station itself, there is another long line there where people say that they've been waiting for almost 1 to 2 hours now, wanting to go back home. And this is the Lower Parel monorail station, and it's not just with monorail services but also western and central services that have been severely impacted.
All right, Amita, thank you for that update, and thank you for the hard work that both of you, Apeksha and Amita, have been doing all day, bringing us reports from waterlogged Mumbai. We're also keen to understand, and a lot of people have texted us today asking if schools are going to be open tomorrow. Now, one of the pain points for Mumbai, and here's what we're looking at. We're looking at a city that does receive very heavy rainfall. It's also a city that waterlogs every time there is rainfall, and it comes to a complete grinding halt. A lot of the people asked one very simple question. If there was going to be this much rain, why wasn't there an advisory put out, or why weren't schools closed earlier? Children went to school this morning at about 10 o'clock. The government put out a notice saying, okay, we're closing schools, which means parents then had to go to the school in that pouring rain, pick up their children, bring them home, basically defeating the purpose of closing schools for a day. And we still don't have clarity on whether or not schools will be closed for tomorrow. And we're trying perhaps to get that clarity now as well from the government. But to help us answer questions of whether or not this is the new normal and whether Mumbaikars have to be okay with living like this. Joining us on the show, Shaina NC for the BJP, Stalin Dayanand, who runs an NGO called Van Shakti. Sujay Kandawala is a senior lawyer with the Mumbai High Court. Vandana Kohli is a documentary filmmaker. So concerned citizens, Shaina NC not with us right now, but she will join us in a little while. Also, I'm opening up the phone lines for anyone who wants to call and give us your opinion. Sujay Kandawala, I will start with you. You were born in this city, you grew up here, you practice here, this is your home.
Yeah.
Are you okay with this being the new normal, with climate change, heavy rains? This is what we have to deal with from now on.
So Faye, having grown up in this city and having spent my entire life in this city, and now having crossed the stage of migration where now I can't think or contemplate to settle down somewhere else, my heart burns and my heart pains to see that every year, year after year, we have these discussions, and people who are representing the government or the bureaucrats will come and say, nahi, Mumbaikar spirit will live on, things will be okay, now the rains have receded, sometimes the high tide was there, therefore the water did not go. But now your viewers have seen, your reporters have shown us that even despite 4 hours, the rains having stopped, the water had no place to go. The difficulty is this, and it's a virtually impossible task for the water to go out and spread. The stormwater drains or the original gutters that we had, or the places where the water could disperse, were large water bodies or gardens where the water could seep. Mother Nature had provided this beautiful coastal city with adequate protection to handle any kind of rains. But the problem is haphazard development, crazy infrastructure, complete corruption from top to bottom, and concretization. Now the difficulty is this: we don't even see or hear a croaking frog in this city. This is the difficulty. There is no nature. Now we are going to cut thousands of trees in RA. Where all this water is going to go? This water has no outlet. Unless the water has outlet, unless our stormwater drains or other gutters are not filled with plastic, rubbish and haphazard concretization from all sides, the gutter should be expanding to let all this go. But unfortunately, the gutters are closing in. So therefore, Mother Nature can't be blamed. The rains will come. We need the water. The question is, on one side, all this water is wasted, precious water. On the other side, the citizens and everyone has to go through this huge calamity and this kind of a situation. The only solution is we all Mumbaikars need to band together. We need to have a program so that Mumbai is ready for the next rains, and we don't have to face even worse situation. Because Faye, today we have faced this. Now there will be diseases, there will be leptospirosis, there will be other cases coming up.
Yes.
How long? And look at the budget the BMC has got. It's one of the richest bodies in the world.
Yes, Sujay.
And Mumbai pays almost half of the country's taxes, and this is what we get.
Well, Sujay, of course, representative of the anger and the frustration among the average Mumbaikar today. This is how we all feel. I also want to bring in Stalin Dayanand for a quick question. Stalin, you've been watching the city for a while. The thing that has changed is perhaps the mangroves that have been disappearing. And we've been talking about this. It's been 6 months since we put out the story. Apeksha, in fact, who was just talking to us from Juhu, was the one who covered that story about the fact that entire mangroves are being concretized. There's construction debris being dumped in the mangroves. BKC, which is extremely impressive if you drive through it, but actually was mangroves, which sucked up extra water. So there is a price to pay at the end of the day. All of the areas that are actually flooding today are around BKC, aren't they?
Definitely. BKC happens to be located on the estuary of the Mithi River. You take away the estuary of a river, your city will flood. You asked if this is the new normal. Yes, this will be the new normal. Government has a simple solution. Declare a holiday. Tell the police to block the roads which are flooded. Declare a holiday for schools. Problem solved. Go home. Everyone is happy. There is no demarcation of the floodplains in the development plan. This is a coastal city. The floodplains will have to be demarcated, whatever is remaining of them, and kept inviolate. Tell every developer you will not even look at this place. But the problem is the estuaries which have already been constructed on. How do you recover those? Now that is a big challenge. Even now the government is having further suicidal designs like construction on salt pans. Now this is a deliberate, they are deliberately killing the city. The problem is that this city never had a chief minister which came from Mumbai. Mumbai is a financial capital, and the lack of connect with the politicians who are ruling the state with Mumbai is the root cause of this problem. You ask any Mumbaiker, they'll tell you that this flood situation is increasing and is getting worse with every passing year. Who is to blame?
Okay. All right. Vandana Kohli is with us as well. Vandana, do you have, what is your opinion on this? Because we did have some citizens speaking to our reporters who said that citizens need to be more responsible about where they throw their garbage. Do you agree that this is citizens' responsibility? Is it government's responsibility? Why is this happening, in your opinion?
Well, Faye, I agree completely with what Sujay Kantawala has said, and especially when he's spoken about haphazard development. Yes, I think there is a certain amount of responsibility that lies on every citizen in terms of garbage and in terms of even in times of Visarjan, which absolutely floods the place, especially when the lady was talking about the garlands. But the basic and the root problem, I think, is the fact that we do not have a master plan. We have failed in urban development. There is haphazard development anywhere and everywhere. BKC is just an example, not only whether they were mangroves, but look at BKC. You enter BKC, the roads are wide, the buildings are great, and look at the exit points. The exit points are all bottlenecks, which means that nobody has a bird's eye overview of what development is. Whenever you put up a building, it should connect to the grid. The grid has to be designed in a way where it takes development of different plots so that, look at London. London is dug up completely this year because they are laying drainage and other amenities to look after them till 2050. 2050. And we are struggling with something that should never have happened. As someone said, this is the financial capital of the country. If this is going to grind to a halt, it's going to lead to so much of loss in terms of the economy, in terms of work hours. So we needn't go there. But I think that there is no master plan. There is no understanding of a master plan. Even the coastal, and there's a problem with the system. The BMC has, every department has good and honest officers. I know that. That is my conviction, and I have seen it. And I'm sure the BMC is not an exception to that. But what is the system? That the man who heads the BMC will come for a year or 2 years at best. So what is he supposed to do? So somewhere the system has to come together. The ruling party has to say, this is what the city needs. The BMC, which is another, whoever the organization is, whether it's led by another party, whether it's the bureaucrats, everyone has to come together on a round table and make sure that master plan is in place.
Well, we have Shaina NC with us right now from the government. Shaina NC, the truth is that we have, in fact, so much unplanned construction. There is a complete lack of focus from the government. And I simply want to ask you the question that on the screen we're looking at completely waterlogged streets. People on Twitter are talking about how they got out of their houses this morning. They were stuck in the same place for hours. Colleagues of mine who had to walk through waist-deep water to take their children out of daycare and then walked home holding their children and their babies through waist-deep water. That's really, really dangerous. Is this the Mumbai we have to make our peace with now?
No, the questions you raise are absolutely pertinent because there are lots of epidemics, whether it's lepto or etc., which we need to take care of. But you know, since morning, Faye, and I must be very honest with you, there have been so many channels that have called and asked me that what is the government doing about this kind of Mumbai rain? Now, this is not a question which is going to be answered by the government. This is a question which is answered by the rain gods. You have out of 150 weather stations in the Mumbai metropolitan region, around 100 which recorded 200 mm of rainfall in the last 24 hours. The Indian Meteorological Department for the first time has been right on multiple occasions. They have been questioned for their inactiveness. Here they have said that they have requested people to stay indoors for the next 24 hours, citing this kind of rain. Should there have been larger infrastructure projects that we should have taken on many years ago? Yes, definitely. But the reality is our Mumbai is a low-lying area. We have high tides, we have low tides. We have a constant fighting within, where you have stormwater drains which are just not capable of handling this kind of incessant rain. Having said that, you have a war room at the Chief Minister's office, you have a disaster management team, you have the Mumbai police that has been tweeting at intervals, constantly saying if you have a problem, please dial 100. This is a constant helpline. There are other helpline numbers given of particular areas if there is water clogging. We all know, living in Mumbai for over 40 years now, that there are certain pockets, whether it's the Hind Mata, Elphinstone, which will always have this kind of water clogging no matter what we do, because the fact is that what planning should have happened maybe some 20 years ago, 15 years ago, has not. That is why the Chief Minister has been so vocal about projects like the metro, like the coastal road, and is working tirelessly to ensure that we are able to relieve some part of traffic congestion,
I just want to point out a couple of things.
Some part of issues which are monitored by the BMC. You have had Mr. Praveen Pardesi on record.
I just want to point out a couple of things.
And I'd like to quote what the Chief Minister has said himself.
Of course.
He said, due to the continuous heavy rain services between CST Thane on the main line, CSMT Vadala, Andheri, Goregaon, Vadala, Mankhurd, Harbour Line, etc., we are trying our best to have even late trains work. There are people at each railway station from the war room of the Chief Minister facilitating tea and snacks. Please do understand, we request you not to step out for the next 24 hours if it's not urgent.
All right. All right. Let me just make one point. We were talking about why Kurla, Vadala, areas around BKC are the ones that are flooding the most. Bandra, Kurla, Vadala. This is where the worst, that's Kurla today, worst flooding we're seeing. You know why? Because the marshland of BKC near the Mithi River, in the estuary of the Mithi River, was constructed upon. Now, I want to read out what happened when the government planned to do this. The government came under much flack for converting the marshland between Bandra and Kurla along the Mithi River to construction through reclamation from experts and environmentalists, and the politicians turned around and said there is no choice. Now, I want to tell you today what's happening. The government is going to chop down 2,700 trees inside RA, which is on the riverbed of the Mithi River. And when environmentalists and activists are telling you not to do it, you are going to turn around and say, which you have done, that the government has no choice. This, on your screen, viewers, is what happens when the government completely ruins our environment in the name of development. This, what you're looking at today, if we allow the government to cut down those 2,700 trees like they're planning to do, this will get worse. There is no point distributing biscuits to us after you've taken away our environment. Stalin Dayanand, go ahead.
Miss China ma'am she should be answering what is a mall being constructed for on the mouth of the Mithi even today. It is not a question of yesteryears. Even today, there is a mall and a huge complex which is being constructed where the water should be dispersing from the floods. And BKC is just one example. You go across the city, they have tried and destroyed every floodplain possible. Even the concept of floodplain is absent. If you ask what is a floodplain, they won't do. They have no clue. And only rhetoric which is told is some agenda, how great the government is and how great everything is, and everything is going to be rosy in 15 years' time. Once the metro comes in, the flooding, what is the connection between the metro route coming in and the flooding? In fact, the metro shed is coming up on the floodplains of Mithi River. And the environmental experts have said constructing this will cause floods downstream even up to the airport. Still, the government doesn't listen. And I asked the chief minister under RTI, who are the scientists who are advising you? The reply comes, no such post exists. So obviously, when you don't involve scientists in your process, you're going to have a mess at the end of it. And the answer cannot be, we are giving warnings to people. This is a financial capital. It cannot stop even for a minute. How is it being held to ransom for days on end? And this is getting worse with each passing year. Every year we have the same discussions. And again we've been requesting that the floodplains of the city should be demarcated and kept inviolate. That will solve the problem, not anything else.
Okay, in fact, we have Mr. G.P. Sharma, Vice President of the Met and Climate Change Department in Sky Weather Services, who joins us right now. Mr. Sharma, thank you for joining us. I just want to understand from you what the forecast is for the city of Mumbai and Thane, Palghar, Raigad, Navi Mumbai over the next 24 hours. Would you recommend that parents not send their children to school tomorrow? We seem to have a problem with that audio.
Is the question for me, please?
Yes, Mr. G.P. Sharma of SkyMet. The question is for you. What is the forecast for the next 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. See, this is the third consecutive day heavy rains have lashed Mumbai, nearly after a gap of about a month or so. 2nd of August was the last, and then obviously, and extremely heavy this morning. Can you imagine more than 200 millimeter of rainfall falling in just about 6 hours between 8:30 and about 2:30 in the afternoon? So obviously, but we expect these rains to have a little breather now, early part of night, but I don't think it's over yet. Towards again early morning tomorrow, we expect the rains to come again. It should not be as heavy as we have experienced today, but still there could be heavier spells. We need to exercise a lot of caution even tomorrow also. So I will definitely advise that we take all the precautions, as you said, whether the schools are there or children have to go to school. I surely will recommend that we wait for another 24 hours. Situation will definitely improve from Friday onward, and in any case the weekend should be much better. There should be hardly be few spells only over the weekend, but that's next 24 hours, that is up to tomorrow, we need to exercise all the caution. Heavy rains are likely. That's what my advice is. Yes, please.
Mr. Sharma, I have another quick question for you. The heaviest rainfall Mumbai has ever registered in a day is about 900 mm. We saw 200 mm in some parts of the city. Is 200 mm? I know that it's heavy rain, but should it surprise the administration of a city like Mumbai, given the kind of rain we receive every year?
See, this year itself, this monsoon, if you take every month, whether it's June, July, August, and now September, every month we have had 3-digit rainfall. Actually, month of July we had 100 millimeter also, 200 millimeter also, 300 millimeter also. 365 millimeter of rainfall had poured in a matter of just about 24 hours. So obviously this has been record rainfall this season. Every season is not like this, but then July, as we know, it almost had an all-time record this year, crossing about 1100 millimeter of rainfall. So obviously the intensity of the rains have been very high this season, and it continues. Though we had a good spell, just about moderate light rain almost for about 3 weeks. Last 3 weeks of August, we didn't see any heavy rainfall as such. But now Yes, as we said, third consecutive day, the rains are there, heavy rains are there. All the normals of the months, whether it is June, July, August, September, Mumbai has surpassed all those normals, hinting at it is a very, very active monsoon season this time. And obviously the heaviest rainfall, it may not be heavier than what we have already experienced, that's 365 millimeter, but then still 220 millimeter of rainfall so far since 8:30 in the morning. This is also quite huge. Yes. And this is measured only in some pocket, like in SkyMet AWS automatic weather stations. They have experienced a heavy rainfall exceeding 200 millimeter at many places, particularly South Mumbai. Yes.
All right, 200 millimeters in many places, but not the heaviest we've ever received. We received 300 just in July. The heaviest Mumbai has ever received is close to is over 900. I want to bring Vandana Kohli back into the conversation. Vandana ji, here's the question that we should ask as citizens. There are two things. One, what the government does on the day of the heavy rains. And let's assume there's a war room and biscuits are being distributed and the police is closing off the roads. The other is, and this is not just this government. For 20 years, for 30 years, government after government have treated our environment with complete dispassion. Is it okay then to turn around and blame the gods? Also, I mean, Shaina NC is a Mumbaikar. She should know that during the Ganpati period, you shouldn't blame gods for things that gods are not responsible for. Gods are not responsible for reclaiming marshland, Shaina NC. Vandana Kohli, should we be okay with just blaming the gods?
Who's saying that, Faye? Don't trivialize the debate. It's like saying
no,
that
Faye,
does the government know how much rain there's going to be? The point is we've used technology to the best.
Okay, Vandana Kohli, go ahead.
Well, I wouldn't say I don't agree with blaming the rain gods. I think we are entering a phase where climate is going to get more and more extreme thanks to what we have done, which again comes back to haphazard development and not understanding or having complete disdain for the environment. The problem actually is that we don't seem to stop. We don't know where to stop and start the amendments. Anybody who is working in the field of environment and asks questions for any development project is looked upon as an obstructionist. As the gentleman, as Talon on the show says, he says that people don't even know who are working on those projects. There's no post for the scientist also. So this is what we mean by haphazard development. Now, somebody mentioned the coastal road. I don't have all the details on the coastal road, but I can tell you one thing, that there has never been waterlogging in Breach Candy area where the coastal road is very, very predominant. But for the first time there has been flooding in that area, which is indicative of what? That whatever plan has been put forth hasn't been plugged completely. And that is where the danger is. You can go ahead with your development, but have you first checked on what will be the impact around? Now, why does Parel always seem to flood up? Because it used to be mostly mills. It was not designed as a lowland to hold these extremely high-rise buildings with this huge density of population, with all the drainage that requires and all the infrastructure that requires to come around it. So somewhere we have to have a master plan, and if we do not start now, we can write off our cities in the next 5 years.
Sujay? And I'm coming back to you, simply for the citizens' point of view here, because there are several cases right now in the Bombay High Court, and it's true that generally environmentalists and activists are looked at as nuisance value when the government talks about development. But this is really the nuisance that we have to put up with as a result.
No, I agree. And now let us take it forward in the sense, I agree that the damage has been done, and as a family, if it faces a calamity, it looks forward to learn from the experience that the family doesn't have to go through the calamity again in future. So if you think of it in a positive way, how would you avoid or mitigate these kind of issues when there is maybe again 200 mm rainfall in the next season? The simple answer is twofold. The citizens' participation. My very good friend Shaina should tell us in this war room how many citizens were there And where are the citizens participating in decision-making process, which concerns citizens? Because we are a democracy, we have elected the government, and therefore, in every standing committee, in every committee of BMC or otherwise, we need citizens like Stalin and Vandana over there to be the voices of the Mumbaikar. If that happens, I am sure that there will be a change. But you know what, Faye? I am sure that there will be a deadlock, that Lakshman Rekha for having a citizen on every committee and to have its voice and to speak out, that is never going to happen. If that doesn't happen, sadly, this city is completely going down the drain. This is what I'm hoping doesn't happen. And this is what I'm hoping that the people who are watching this debate and the past, that we realize that we cannot go on like this. These are clear and present danger signs. We can't take this forward.
Stalin, is there room for citizens on government panels and government planning commissions?
Definitely. Citizens are never involved in any of these processes. And we are not obstructionists. We want to give positive suggestions which will help execute your projects and also help the city survive. That is most important. Unless now we have already handled 1000 millimeter of rain in 2005. What have we learned from that? Are we better prepared today? No. 1/5 of the rain, we go down crumbling and we say God is responsible and Mumbai is a saucer, and it has not become a saucer overnight. It was always a saucer. But it was never flooding miserably year after year and not worsening definitely. So there is a disconnect. And instead of talking to the citizens, people who can understand the ground realities, they are on their own trip when they don't want to hear anything. Just defame the activists or the environmentalists or the scientists and just carry on bulldozing the environment. And this is what you will get in return. Like in the beginning also I asked what is the answer and what is the justification for that mall which is being constructed even today on the mouth of the Mithi river. There is no answer and nobody has given me that answer. This is the situation.
China NC?
So, Faye, I want to say just few points. One, with deepest respect for all the activists on your panel, I believe that they must be legitimate voices of dissent. They must raise their voice. They must question us. As you asked a pertinent question, there is no need for a mall, irrespective of whether it's on marshland or on any low-lying terrain. Vandana raised a very pertinent point that yes, Lower Parel used to be all of mills, and you've seen this high-rise construction. Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, when I keep talking about political will, transparency, accountability, the development plan has been stalled for the longest time because we want to ensure that what our previous governments did, which we inherited after 15 years by ruining Mumbai, is not the path that we choose to be on. It is very, very convenient to say that, oh, we must question development, but really at this juncture where Mumbai is bursting on its seams, we have no option but the coastal road and the metro. We have given a commitment because we have been on your TV shows also, Faye, and I know you're championing the cause of RA, and rightly so, but the 2,100 trees, 2,700 trees that are going to be chopped, which have been okayed by other political parties as well in the tree authorities, which are, independents and other political parties too, have assured that 8,100 large trees will be planted with utmost accountability.
So, I just want to point out two things, if I may.
Who has grown 33 crore trees in the state of Maharashtra. So it's not like we don't have the intention.
Okay, Shaina ji, let me just point out two things. Let me just point out two things, if you would allow me, please.
Like erratic rainfalls.
Let me point out two things, if I may. The government's, belief that this car shed, and again, I reiterate like I do every night, we are not arguing against the metro the metro station, we're arguing against the car shed. The belief that we can rip apart the ecosystem that is in RA and replace it somewhere else where it's on a floodplain of the river, and we can put it somewhere else, but we can compensate by planting somewhere else, actually shows that the government fully hasn't understood the environment. And that battle will continue, and we should leave it separate from that. But I just want to point out also to you that the bottle of water that you have in your hand right now is single-use plastic. We've made a commitment not to use plastic in this city, that we will not use single-use plastic, that we will remove plastic use from us. It's this sort of thing. At the end of the day, it's all well and good to be intentioned. And I completely agree with you. I'm on board with you 100% that previous governments have messed up, that previous governments made bad decisions. That's why they got voted out. That's why we chose you. You need to do better. We're also at a point now where we cannot risk anything with the climate anymore. We cannot risk anything with the environment anymore. We know better than what we knew when we were cutting trees for expressways in the past and for roads in the past and for buildings in the past. We know better. Unfortunately, we're not being better. We're not acting better. We're not better than the previous governments. That is my problem with all of this. That is my issue. That we can blame the previous governments as much as we want, but they're gone. They're history. They don't matter anymore. What matters now is what we do with the little time we have and the little opportunity, the little window that we have left to save the environment and save the city. The poorest will suffer the most when flooding happens. The poorest will suffer the most when we run out of water. Not the people sitting in either Malabar Hill or in South Mumbai. It's the ones in Kurla. It's the ones in Navi Mumbai. It's the ones in Uran who will suffer the most. Where is the accountability? How much longer are we going to blame God for the mistakes that we are making every day? Today you will cut down 2,700 trees. 5 years from now, someone will blame God. Let's be clear about the mistakes we are making and the fact that we don't want to turn this around. I'm going to leave this discussion here, but and I understand the people in Mumbai are frustrated. You should be. You work far too hard, far too long to be treated in this fashion. This is not a village. This is a city that contributes a great deal of taxes to the BMC, to the state government and to the central government. We deserve to be treated better. We deserve to be treated with the dignity. Our job should be treated with dignity. Your job and your profession is not treated with dignity when you have to wade through that to get to the office. Our children are not treated with dignity when they're sent to school and then asked to be picked up at 10:30 in the morning when the city looks like that. Our professions are not treated with dignity. Our taxes are not treated with dignity. We deserve better. And it's not a question of what the government did today. It's a question of what we're doing with our larger plans. And this whole argument of, for development, we must sacrifice the environment is a garbage argument. You know that, I know that, we know that today. Our children know that. We would be fools to make this mistake one more time. We will at some point have to turn around and answer when our children asked us what we were doing when 2,700 trees were cut down in this city, what we were doing when the mangroves were being concretized, what we were doing when the green spaces were being taken over, because they will start to develop lung cancer. Look at your child. Your child will start to develop lung cancer because you didn't stand up today for what is right. You didn't ask questions. So it's not just a question of wading through water and catching a cold. It's far worse than that. Let's stop blaming God for our mistakes. We're moving on to a story we've been bringing to you for the last couple of days. You will remember in Uttar Pradesh, there was a journalist who brought us a story about little children who were being fed chapatis and salt. The Uttar Pradesh government then filed an FIR against the journalist, saying that he basically presented wrong information. Today, the Times Group exposes the authorities who were responsible for that salt and roti midday meal in the school in Mirzapur. The cook at the very same school says the children were in fact served only salt and roti as there was no other pulses or vegetables available. Remember, she was supposed to serve dal roti that day, but there was no dal. She also says there are several irregularities. Take a look.
एकदम सही है हम खिलाला दूध मीठे दाई है जा ममता रुकमणी देवी वो खाना हम खिया को जाए मुरारी सर जी ठाड़ में आप पे नहीं रोको के ना चाहता ना नहीं रोकला तो हम खिया लगी।
अच्छा, तो पत्रकार की गलती है इसमें?
नहीं
कोई गलती
नहीं कोई गलती नहीं, मुरारी सर का गलती है। तू देवा तब तो हम बनाई, देवा न करबे तो हम बनाई कहाँ से।
तो इससे पहले भी ऐसे ही स्थिति थी कि
एक बार नमक या चावल खिया था, फिर नौकरी अंदर नमक और रोटी।
In fact, my colleague also spoke with parents of the children who were fed salt and roti. They say their pleas for better food for their children have been ignored. They also say the fact that the salt and roti incident is not a one-off incident. It happens on a regular basis.
क्या है आपकी
लड़की?
तो यहाँ की जो व्यवस्था है उससे आप कितना संतुष्ट हैं?
कितना संतुष्ट मैं कहिए का कहत को सुनता नहीं बना सब लोग तो का कहाई। हाँ खात बात कहूँ कहत बा, मास्टर के कहत बा तो कहूँ कि हमसे बोला मत नहीं तो हमसे बेकार कोई नहीं है, जन करते बनो कर ला।
किस चीज का आप लोग विरोध करती थी?
यह नीमक रोटी का
और
का नीमक भात क्यों ना।
तो ये इससे पहले भी क्या ऐसी चीजें होती रही हैं?
अब रोज रोज तो सर जी स्कूल पर देखा नहीं आवत आदमी, बच्चा कहत बना तो जाके आदमी देखत बा।
बच्चे क्या कह रहे थे आपसे?
कहत रहना कि नीमक भात देते हूँ, कहियो केरा लिया तो केरा नहीं देते, कहियो दूध लेते हूँ 2 लीटर तो मैं पानी डाल देता हूँ और आशीष गरम कर करके देता हूँ, 2 लीटर दूध में तनी तनी बच्चन के देता हूँ।
तो इसकी शिकायत आप लोगों ने नहीं की किसी से?
प्रधान जी से कहा तो प्रधान जी बेचारू दूर बाना तो उनके क्या कहा, देखा लोगों समझावा समझावती थक गल आदमी।
तो ये बताइए कि मतलब बच्चा आए दिन ये शिकायत करते थे कि उनको कभी नमक रोटी मिल रहा है क्या?
नमक रोटी भात नीमक चलल तब ना स्कूल में गई जा देखा तो एको कुछो रहबे नहीं कल, न नीमक बा न तेल बा न आलू बा न प्याज बा, तो करबारी का करी।
Well, this is a clear sign of corruption because it is specified by courts and government. The calorie content and the calorie intake that every single one of those midday meals must be. It should include dal, rice, vegetables, and in some cases milk and eggs, which means that someone is stealing from these children's plates. When we were promised a Bhrashtachar Mukt Bharat, this is not what it looks like. But the Mirzapur journalist who exposed this story, who was booked and an FIR was filed against him after he broke the story, has said that he and his family are now living in fear. He also added that the administration has still not quashed that FIR despite assurance from the Deputy Chief Minister.
इतने प्रदर्शन के बाद भी, पत्रकार बंधुओं के प्रदर्शन के और विरोध के बाद भी जिले के अधिकारियों की नींद अभी तक नहीं टूटी है। वो अपने जिद पे अड़े हुए हैं और सरकार विरोधी बताने पे तुले हुए हैं। अभी हमारे ऊपर लगे हुए 4 आपराधिक मुकदमे अभी तक वापस नहीं लिए गए हैं। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री के उप मुख्यमंत्री का भी बयान आ गया है, निर्दोषों पर कार्रवाई नहीं की जाएगी। फिर भी जिलाधिकारी अनुराग पटेल जी अपना एक ही रट लगाए हुए हैं और नहीं तो एक और बात बोल दिया उन्होंने कि हम वीडियो नहीं बना सकते, हम तो डेली न्यूज़पेपर के पत्रकार हैं। ऐसे में हमें हमेशा डर लगा हुआ है कि न जाने हमारे साथ क्या होगा। हमारे लोग, हमारा परिवार, सब लोग डरे सहमे हैं।
We're going to take a quick break here on Mirror Now. We'll come back on the other side with a close look at our economy. Just to remind you, Maruti has decided to shut down plants for 2 days. What does that mean for you and me on the other side? Don't go anywhere.